Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Football, and it is January 9th at around 2:30 in the morning right now, and I'm just psyched. I had to jump on here and talk about the national championship game that happened tonight. I was over at my parents' house. It's about a 40-minute drive back to my house. I was watching it there with my father, and wow, this was a very entertaining game throughout the entire game. It was the perfect combination of drama, bold calls, momentum, tide swinging, pun intended, unpredictability, predictability, and of course the crowning of the actual national champion. Sorry, UCF, but the Alabama Crimson Tide. 26, the Bulldogs 23, as Nick Saban wins his 6th national title, tying Bear Bryant for the most by a head coach. Now we know Saban has 5 with Alabama, and he had 1 with LSU. But this game was incredibly entertaining. We saw mistakes early. We saw a quarterback change that we would never think would happen, and the kind of stones that it took to do that. We'll dive into all of these things. And I thought early on in this game, first drive by Georgia, 3 plays, and Jake Fromm throws an interception. Tony Brown kind of wrestles it away from the Georgia receiver, and you're like, oh geez, this is going to be this kind of game. And then Alabama just possessed the ball for 11 plays all the way down the field just for a missed field goal, which would come back and haunt them later on in this game. Andy Papanastos, with that strong Greek last name, misses the 40-yard field goal wide left. And then from then on, it was an exchange of punts and then a 14-play drive by Georgia, which led to a field goal and an early lead. A couple drives later, another field goal drive, 13 plays by Georgia. And these drives, however, were rather unique. And I thought that Jim Chaney called an excellent game in the first half. In the first half, they were attacking Alabama. They were using Fromm's arm down the field. He was throwing from the far hash to the boundary on the other side. It was kind of unique to see, throwing across the field like that. Not to mention, on these big, important third downs, they would go with Sony Michel. 3rd and 5, Sony Michel for 7 yards. And they kept giving it to Sony Michel early on in this game, and he showed the kind of body control, the kind of acceleration, the burst. He would lower his shoulder. He was incredibly physical, something that was very intriguing. It's helping this kid move up the draft board. There's no doubt about it. And Sony Michel ended this game with 14 carries for 98 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry. And it was a real indictment on Georgia down the stretch, because why did they get away from Sony Michel? The guy had 1 carry on his last 3 drives for Georgia. That kind of stuff is inexcusable. But I digress. So the game started off in that slow kind of pace. UGA took the 6-0 lead. And then they were able to mount a 9-play drive in which Georgia, on the back of Sony Michel, with a nice 14-yard run, Jake Fromm using his legs, Nick Chubb mixed in, but they got down to the 1-yard line, and Mecole Hardman had that 1-yard touchdown run. It's not the last time we're going to see Hardman. And that essentially ended the half. And at this point in the game, Alabama's offense has done absolutely nothing. Jalen Hurts was running at any sign of pressure near the pocket. Now remember, Jalen Hurts was a true freshman last year against Clemson, and they lost. So this is his true sophomore season. This guy's 25-2. As a starter for Nick Saban in Alabama. But any sign of pressure, anytime Lorenzo Carter or Dalvin Bellamy, Raekwon Smith, any of those linebackers, any of those defensive ends on Georgia's dominant front seven gets close to him, he wouldn't step up in the pocket. He wouldn't give his receivers time to develop their routes. So, Jalen Hurts, at halftime, when Kendrick Lamar is doing his thing, gets benched. He gets benched. And the kind of stones it takes for Nick Saban to bench him for a true freshman. He's not going to a senior, not somebody who's more experienced. But when you're down 13-0 at halftime, and your offense hasn't done absolutely anything, and you know you might be in somewhat of a comeback mode, you're going to need someone to throw the football. You're going to need someone with arm. You're going to need someone with more precision and poise. And he found that in his true freshman quarterback out of Hawaii, Tagovailoa. Now, this kid showed me so much, showed the nation so much, showed humbleness in his post game. This kid had the most unique blend of discipline, poise, patience, and just dumb freshman mistakes that you would expect him to make. But this kid stepped up when the lights were the brightest and absolutely shined. And in the beginning of the third, down 13-0 on a 3rd and 7 play. And everyone's thinking, wow, Saban just benched Hurts. They've been riding Hurts this whole season. Nick Saban, this coach that we all revere, just benched this kid after everything that they've been through together. Brings Tua in. And Tua is dead to rights on a 3rd and 7 with Dalvin Bellamy and another dog defender draped all over him, wrapped up. Somehow this kid slips away and rushes for a first down, 9 yards to the opposite side of the field. This is when I looked over at my dad and I said, Bama's not losing this game. And Bama ended up scoring on this drive, a 6-yard touchdown pass to Riggs. And the game ensued. And at this point, anything could happen. You need Georgia to step up in this moment, come up big. Can the true freshman Drake Fromm do that? Yes, he can. Because in 4 plays, he showed off his gun from the middle of the field up the right sidelines on a 3rd and 11, where Mecole Hardman told you he's coming back. 80-yard touchdown pass from Fromm to go back up 20-7 and give yourself that nice, comfortable lead. And better yet, you have Tua, this inexperienced freshman on the other side. The next drive for Alabama, he's rolling out on a 2nd and 10, shortening the field, and he absolutely panics. It was supposed to be a setup screen. You could tell because Calvin Ridley was blocking in this game, which, speaking of Calvin Ridley, his brother Riley Ridley is receiver for the Bulldogs, and he really balled out early on in this game. It's just one of those cool narratives. Supposedly they didn't talk all week. I love sibling rivalries. But anyways, Tua just throws the ball up in the air, and DeAndre Baker of the Bulldogs intercepts it. And you're thinking, oh boy, wow, this kid comes in, makes this really dumb mistake, because he did. It was a dumb mistake. I told you. He shows a lot in this game, but he made those freshman mistakes. He goes, he puts his arm over Nick Saban, and he says, don't worry, I know that was dumb. We're going to make up for it. And he does later on in this game. And it is definitely helped out by the fact that Jake Fromm threw an interception off of someone's helmet. He throws a pass, supposed to be just a little hook by the running back over the middle of the field, bounces off of a defensive lineman's helmet, right up in the air, right to Raekwon Davis, who intercepts it. And the ball goes right back to Bama. And it's just everything at this point is going against Georgia. And so many things are going Alabama's way. Like we just talked about, the crazy bounce off the helmet, which just popped in the air and was picked in the 3rd quarter after Georgia's defense intercepted Tau. Georgia let the sure sack of Tau get away for the first down. If he sacked there with no points on the board in the second half, that is a huge momentum swing. But instead, they score on that drive and make it a game again. In the 4th quarter, Dominic Sanders, near interception in the back of the end zone, gets his feet down but bobbles the ball. That would have effectively ended the game right there in the 4th quarter. Instead, Bama gets a field goal and inches closer. And you have non-calls like Wilson, after sacking Fromm, when Fromm was rolling out, basically punches him in the back of the head to help him. Like, he gets up off of him and then basically punches Fromm in the back of the head. That deserved a flag, but it wasn't called. The face mask missed on Sony Michel. There's just so many things, so many outcomes in this game that led to what actually happened. But you can kind of say that with really any situation. It just seemed like so many things were going against the Dogs. But there is no doubt a lot went against them. But sometimes looking in the mirror is the only true answer, especially when you want to better yourself or progress and find fault in the end. Like, why did you get away from Sony Michel? What happened to your play calling? How did all of this transpire? It seemed like Georgia got kind of tentative towards the end and were playing not to lose with the lead that they had. And when you play not to lose, you usually lose. It's not the way to go. But man, Bama, everything was falling apart on the sideline in this game. You had Nick Saban going crazy. You had players almost fighting assistant coaches. It was just a madhouse down there. It really was. But after that helmet interception by Fromm, it's like Bama settled down, realized, hey, this is a damn game. They get that field goal, and they make it a two-possession game. And then Bama's defense, Georgia's defense, and Bama's defense again hold strong until Bama gets another field goal and make it a one-touchdown game. And you know what? I give Jake Fromm a lot of credit in this game. I do. But Jake Fromm missed some easy throws. He missed some easy throws in the flat that could have extended some of these late drives down the stretch. That really point to the late throw, had about a minute left in the game, to DeAndre Swift in the flat, which led to a 10-play drive and set up Mr. the one and only Andy Papanastos, who missed a 36-yard field goal as the time expired. And Tua and the Alabama offense did everything they could to set this guy up. They put the ball on the right hash, called the timeout. They actually put Jalen Hurts back into the game to center it a little bit more, which they should have left it on the right hash because he sent it wide left once again, Papanastos, after being put in the perfect position, after Najee Harris. The Najee Harris train kind of came through. Now, I mentioned that because Najee Harris, 5-star recruit out of California, incredibly talented kid. And I remember last year during the recruiting process, he's a true freshman, he's a running back. He was one of the most talked about names. And he saw 6 carries in this game for 64 yards, averaged more than 10 yards per carry. And he looked incredibly effective in the fourth quarter. He was the one down the stretch, not Bo Scarborough, not Damian Harris. It was Najee Harris. And on those last Alabama drives, he was in there and he was the one grinding the clock out. He was the one leading the charge. Him and Tua, 2 true freshmen. Who would have scripted that up? Not me. Not me at all. You told me Jalen Hurts would have got benched. You told me Harris was doing it. I would have think it was Damian Harris. But no, it was Najee. And we all know he's very talented. And he was able to showcase that tonight. But Papanastos misses this field goal as the time expires. Just a 36-yarder. And I felt so bad for this kid. I did. And you could tell, this is the predictability I was talking about, that he was going to miss it. The kid was sweating bullets. You're in a dome. You're not doing anything. You're not running around or anything. He looked so freaking nervous out there. I don't blame him. I'd be too. When he misses that field goal, and I go, oh my God. College football overtime. So how college football overtime works is you start with the ball at the 25. So it was the Bulldogs who started with the ball. They ended up going 3 and out, kicking the field goal with Blankenship. 51-yard field goal because Jake Fromm got sacked by Terrell Lewis, lost 13 yards. Blankenship went up there with his glasses, poised as hell, unlike Papanastos, and he drills the 51-yard field goal. So now the Crimson Tide, Alabama, come on, and they get a chance to score from the 25. For people who don't know how college football rules work. Now, say they didn't score a field goal here, then they would have lost. But if they score a touchdown, they win. Say if they do score a field goal, then Alabama starts with the ball again, and then Georgia gets a second crack at it. And that's how that all works. And that will just keep going until someone gets the edge. But another dumb play by Tua. He gets sacked by Ledbetter and Bellamy and loses 16 freaking yards. Now, you got to picture Nick Saban's throwing his headset around. You got to just picture the mindset of Nick Saban right now. Nick Saban is absolutely furious. He has a kicker who can't make a chip shot, let alone when his rookie quarter or his freshman quarterback gets pushed way back. And that's exactly what happened. He takes a bad sack, makes a dumb mistake. So you say, okay, this kid's probably rattled, right? No, not Tua, not this kid. This kid is a boss. And on the next play, he showed why he's a boss. He recognizes the coverage pre-snap. And he's a 3-by-1 alignment. So he has 2 receivers and a wide tight end. I want to say it was a wide tight end. And then on the backside, he has Devontae Smith, another true freshman. So he says, "Hi," after taking a brutal sack, and he stares down the right side of that field to hold that safety Sanders in place. And that safety, in a cover 2 look, starts to go towards where he's supposed to be. But he sees his eyes. He sees Tua's eyes looking at the 2 verticals to the front side of the play. And the Y, who's kind of cutting across. So he stays put. At the last second, with all the poise and all the discipline and the patience, he goes back to the backside of the play where the safety was supposed to be, but was held in check by his eye discipline. He manipulated the coverage, and he puts a dime on Devonta Smith's hands for a 41-yard touchdown pass to end the game. That is freaking impressive. You don't see that from true freshman quarterbacks. The ability to manipulate coverage, the ability to have the mental toughness and the competitive toughness after taking a bad sack, to step up, have the patience to let the route develop. Because Georgia's corner was playing underneath coverage. He thought he had help over top. But the safety, Sanders, wanted to get a little bit greedy, wanted to try to read this young quarterback's eyes. And he totally manipulated him, got him out of position, and led to this Devonta Smith 41-yard touchdown pass, which ended the game and secured Nick Saban's 6th national championship. Who would have thought that Tua Tagovailoa would come into this game after Jalen Hurts, 25-2 as a starter for Nick Saban, gets benched because of his ineffectiveness, his lack of arm, his lack of accuracy. And this kid, Tua, he has a gun. He was hitting receivers in stride. We saw him throw Ridley open on the touchdown. We saw him lead Ridley down the field, and Ridley just missed it. You saw him hit receivers in stride, putting dimes out there, not showing any kind of hesitation. The mental toughness it takes, the mental processing it took for him to do this. Coming off the bench, not playing a rep at all this year. It's something to marvel at, my friends. That is something to marvel at. Not to mention, on that Calvin Ridley play, Damian Harris got stuffed on a 3rd and 3. That led to that 4th down on the 5-yard line. They were down by 7 with less than 4 minutes to go. And Saban rolls the dice with a true freshman quarterback at the helm. That's confidence in this kid. And it led to that touchdown where Tua threw the kid open. He saw, initially, he could have made a dumb rookie mistake, threw when that slant was covered by the safety, and it would have been a pick. But instead, he waits for Calvin Ridley to run open, extends the play a little bit with his legs, flows within the pocket, within the confines of his blocking, and throws Ridley open. Ridley gets there because he's going to be a top 10 pick. So you just got to clap your hands at this kid and marvel at what he did tonight. Because it was ridiculous. You don't see that kind of processing from a true freshman. I want to applaud Jalen Hurts for showing the class at the end of the game. All he did was have a smile on his face, congratulate his teammate. He didn't sulk or be petulant or anything like that. So I want to applaud that. With that being said, I don't know if he's going to be back in the Crimson Tide uniform, to be honest. I mean, Tua earned the right to be the starter next year. I mean, the kind of arm strength that he showed and the ability to put the ball where he wants it to be, I would say outweighs Jalen Hurts' ability to just run the football, because Tua, now he's not built like Hurts. Hurts kind of built like a running back, but Tua did show the ability to extend plays, run effectively, lower his shoulder, be physical, but his arm strength, his accuracy, his touch was just far beyond anything that Jalen Hurts has. So Jalen Hurts, I wonder what college he's going to be playing for next year. But it was one remarkable game, one hell of a game, 26-23. I feel bad for the Bulldogs fans, but that's just kind of the way it is. UGA possessed the ball far more than Alabama in this game. They lost a turnover margin by 1. UGA had 2 more first downs than Alabama. But it really just came down to some big plays at the end. Bold moves by Alabama. Incredibly bold moves. You got to think, Georgia's defense hasn't prepared for this Tua guy. They had no idea what he was all about. They underestimated him, especially on that last play. This is another great national championship, and I love talking college football. A lot of these guys are going into the draft process, so you know you'll be hearing their names more on this podcast. But this game had so many momentum swings, so many shifting of the tide, ha ha ha. I like to use puns in the way I talk. But what a game. Alrighty, I just wanted to come on here and break that down really quickly. I hope you enjoyed this quick episode and continue to listen, my friends. Congratulations to Georgia and to the national champion, Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban, you get your 6th. The rich get richer. And now we get to watch Tua, Najee Harris, and the rest of the 5-star recruits that you're able to nail. I think actually Tua was a 4-star recruit. And by the way, cool little fact on Tua. He went to the same high school as Marcus Mariota. Man, that high school is blessed. In Hawaii. And I want to say the high school is called St. Louis High School, too, in Hawaii. Who would have figured that one out, right? Anyways, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting out of here. You guys take care. This is Football, and I'm Nick Filato on the Grandstand Sports Network. We are awesome there. Ta-ta now. Peace.